Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel, and welcome to the UDL Season 2 team overview, breakdown, whatever. My camera's a little laggy, so that's super cool. Whatever. My fucking tech has been all over the place tonight. I'm actually doing this after I recorded the week 1 match. It will go up before the week 1 match, but not by much. I'm uploading both of them tonight, so whatever. Yeah, I just wanted to do this because, like, a lot of the time, I'll, like, in a video, I'll be like, oh, and I made this right, and then I'm like, nobody, like, knows the team. So I just wanted to come in here and, like, go over it and everything, you know? So, here you go. Also, sorry for the little, like, black bar going on down at the bottom. Is just like the sizing, the window capture, and everything. Whatever. I'm not a professional. I want to be, but that's a whole different thing. So, yeah, this is the team. I'm experimenting with a very different archetype this season. I've been like super duper offense in the past, and I've kind of just done the same thing every time, and the UDL, just like by definition almost, is very much a place to like try new stuff. So that's what I'm doing. I've never used a team like this before, but I think it's going to be really fun, and I'm really excited to use it. I definitely enjoy it. It felt good in the week 1 match. My team building was not my best work, but it was still fine. But like outside of that, it felt good. It looks like it's gonna feel good. I like it a lot so far. Um, so yeah, I drafted a Parish Trap team this season in case it's not like immediately apparent looking at your screen. Um, so my tier ones are Gothitelle and Polytoad. Obviously, they both have really important types. Um, Psychic is a good type. Water is a really good type. They both do honestly kind of a few things. Um, Gothitelle, obviously, its primary purpose is Shadow Tag for Parish Trapping, but it's also like with competitive, it's an intimidate deterrent, which is nice because a lot of my bigger threats are physical. So it can be physical, can be more support, like it. Spoiler alert is in week 1. Um, it's not the most variety, but it's a little bit. It's not super duper linear. So that's cool. It's got potential to do various things. Then obviously Polytoad. Again, almost always going to be Drizzle, and for the most part, its primary purpose is to use Parish Song. But it does do other things. It's going to be Drizzle every time because that's like the whole point of Polytoad, but it has honestly a pretty decent move pool. It'll be supportive most of the time, but it does other things. I have ideas. I don't want to spoil too much because really, like, almost the only people that are going to be watching this video um, are in the league. So I don't want to give everything away, but I do have ideas for it. So then moving into tier 2s, again, I only have 2 of them, but they're a little more linear than my tier 1s. So we have Scorch, who does end up coming week 1. Um, this is largely so that I can have access to the Gmax form, because Gmax Centiferno sets Fire Spin, which is an alternate way of trapping the opponent. Um, but it's also just like really strong, really strong. 115 is not like crazy levels, but it's pretty high. It has a pretty solid damage output. Um, Good fire, like I say this in the week 1 video, good fire types are really hard to come by in this format. So getting my hands on Scorch was really really nice. Um, the 4 times rock weakness is not amazing. It's not optimal to be certain, but it's something. Um, so it's nice to have. It feels nice to have. Its move pool is pretty solid. It gets good coverage moves for stuff. I do think I want to make a trade somewhere because I think Scorch is going to feel a lot better if I have access to Tailwind. I don't want to rush into that kind of transaction because I do have an idea of how I might offset that and get speed control in a different way. So I will experiment that in the coming weeks, but that's like the first transaction I have my eye on is a better form of speed control. I do have Trick Room, um, but like with base 65 speed, it's not the greatest Trick Room mod. There are certainly ways to make it work, but um, it feels it's a strange speed tier, and I think having Tailwind is really going to open up my options with it. Speaking of Trick Room and speed control, our other tier 2 is Delmise. So Delmise rounds out our Fire Water Grass core. I wasn't super duper focused on type cores, but they did come together really well in terms of the draft, and I like the synergy with not only the types but also how they work together. The thing about Delmise is that not only does it round out that core, it also gives me a solid Trick Room Sweeper because it's really strong. Base 131 attack is phenomenal. Having stab steel attacks is also great because I didn't manage to get a steel type. Anchor shot is really nice because, again, this is a Perish Trap team, and so I can just go, you don't get to switch, which is great. And it's, again, really pretty linear. Having a ghost type is really great because it's a really good offensive type. I'm really happy that I finally got to draft Delmise. It was my mascot in several seasons of other leagues, so I'm jazzed to have it because I think it's a really cool mod. I think it's going to do really well. I think it slots in really well in this team. Definitely one of the better picks that I think I have. It is a little linear, which is unfortunate, but like it has potential. It's not locked into like a single item, so even though we'll basically be offensive every single week and have a very similar set every single week, it does have option in terms of what item it's running, and even that gives it a little more depth. Next, we have Beartick. I drafted Beartick as a Swift Swim user. My limited knowledge of Perish Trap teams is that you have to have other stuff that you can do, which is why I have a Trick Room Setter and Delmise and like good offense and various things that I can do, because I don't want to completely rely on Perish Trap because I don't think that's ever going to work. So I drafted Beartick as a Swift Sim user because we have Polytoad, so we might as well have at least a little bit of a rain mode. Base 130 attack is really, really solid, so it's got good damage output. Base 50 speed is not fantastic, but it's an option for if I want to run a Trick Room mode. And I was worried when I first drafted it that it was just going to be offensive all the time, but I actually ended up running a support Beartick set in week 1, so it does have a little bit of versatility in terms of what it can do. It's going to be offensive almost every time, but it has other options that are usually not as good, but like it has potential, you know? Then yeah, I used it this week. It's a weakness policy proc for honestly a couple things. It doesn't get Ice Shard, so it can't proc like Delmise, but I wasn't really planning on running weakness policy Delmise anyway. But like it gets Aqua Jet, which is not stab, which is fantastic. So it can proc Sandaconda or Scorch if I really wanted it to. I brought it for Scorch this week, and while it didn't end up doing it, Aqua Jet did decent stuff, and the support Beartick did pretty well. Then next we have Morpeko. Morpeko was more of a type core pick. I didn't have a ton of type core picks, but Morpeko is definitely one of them. Electric type is really nice to have, and Dark type is also really nice to have. Just, I wanted to have access to that stuff. It also, honestly, for a Mon with 95 attack, which is nothing to sneeze at, but is not fantastic, its damage output is honestly really solid. It has a pretty decent offensive typing. And then yeah, its speed tier is also really good, especially considering Aura Wheel boosting speed every turn, or every turn that I use it, I should say. So, I just think it's a pretty solid pick in general. I don't know how much it's going to do. If I trade something, it'll probably be more Pico, but we'll see. we're early on, so I don't know how much more Pico is going to do for me. I think it fits pretty well, and I like having it. I'm excited to use it. I don't know what it's actually going to do, so this is one that I have my eyes on because I don't know what's going to happen. Sandaconda, also here, I drafted it for similar reasons to Scorch. I wanted access to the Gmax form so I could trap people because Gmax Sandblast sets Sand Tomb, which is Fire Spin but ground type. I Rock type? I don't fucking know. So it also has a pretty, it's decently bulky, base 125 defense, and then 70 in the other stats. Not like phenomenal, but it's good. Base 107 attack is fine, but mostly the weakness policy that I brought this week boosts its damage output to pretty solid levels, and I honestly genuinely have a pretty easy time activating it, so that's cool. Um, Again, this is probably going to be a pretty linear mon unless I'm running like a glare set. It's probably just going to be more offensive because that's what I drafted it for. Ground is also a really nice type to have access to. That's kind of it. Wigglytuff, again, I drafted it for similar but opposite reasons to Gothitelle, if that makes any sense. Competitive, intimidate, deterrent, cool. Having a fairy type is really, really nice, and I'm also glad to have a normal type. I think normal type is a pretty solid type, and I think it pairs pretty well with fairy. Um, it's got decent bulk. It learns Perish Song. That's a big reason why I drafted it. Frisk is really good for like gaining information and whatnot, and base 140 HP is massive. It's got a really solid move pool, so I can run it offensive. I ran it support this week, but I think it has a little bit of versatility, not a ton. I think its offensive sets are pretty niche, is the word I was looking for, like against people with Intimidate or whatever, but it has that option if I need to have access to it. Yeah, I think Wigglytuff is going to fit pretty well. Then I have Altaria. It's definitely strange to have a Cloud9 mon on a rain team, but I'm not going to bring Cloud9 if I'm like leaning on my rain mode, so whatever. It also shuts down other people's weather, which is rad. I don't have to rely on Politoed to do that, so that's cool. It's not very good offensively. I mostly drafted it again for Perish Song just because if I'm drafting a Perish Song team, Perish Trap team, I need to make sure that like I have my Perish Trap mons, and so Altaria is good for that. It also, again, fills out type cores. Perish Song is not very widely distributed, so even if it wasn't a type core thing, I probably still would have drafted Altaria. But it fits that niche. I ran an offensive set this week, which felt kind of weird, because it's obviously with base 75 HP, 90 defense, and 105 special defense. It's definitely more of like a bulky support mon, but because it has pretty strong moves in its move pool, its damage output can be okay. It's a tier 4, and so considering the thing, it's kind of like a jack of all trades situation. It's not going to be brilliant, fantastic at anything, but it can do a few things decently, and that's all I was really looking for. Garbodor I drafted for the same reason as Vanillux last season, so if you know why I drafted Vanillux last season, then you know why I have Garbodor, and if you don't, it'll be a surprise, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Poliwrath I drafted as another SwiftSim user, just because I didn't really have a lot of options in Tier 4. It's just really like a garbage dump down there. It's excruciating. You got NFEs and like just garbage mons. So Poliwrath popped up. It has SwiftSwim, and it's a fighting type, which I didn't have. At this point, I felt really solid about my team, and I wasn't really pressed about filling anything in particular. But the fact that it was a type that I didn't have and had an ability to abuse a weather that I had, it just felt like a good fit for the team, you know? So I didn't like set off looking to draft Poliwrath, but it was there. It felt like it fit pretty well, and I think it's going to do pretty okay. Its attacking stat 95 is not amazing, but again, it'll be fine. we'll make it work. And there's not really much else to say about Polyrath. It's just there, and I'll use it, and I like it. We'll see how it goes. So, yeah, that's the team. Not a super long video, but I don't really mind. I just wanted to give a quick little rundown of what we're working with this season, so everybody who watches is on the same page, just in case anyone watching isn't in the league, which I don't think is going to happen, but whatever. I am striving to be more of a content creator, so I'm going to treat this like other people are watching, even if I know that they're not. So take that. Yeah, that's going to be it for me. I'm not going to let myself start to ramble, because that is definitely a pretty big habit that I have. So I'm going to stop. That's it from me. I'll see you guys in like a couple seconds, because you're probably going to go right from here to the week 1 video. Right? Agree? Wrap. So, yeah, I'll see you guys there, and then after that, I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.